Good morning. Today I'm going to be talking about life skills courses in the United States of America. This leads me to my research question. To what extent should the United States public school systems implement socialization courses in grades K through 8? So right now, you may be asking yourself, what specifically are life skills? Well, according to the World Health Organization, life skills are the abilities for adaptive and positive behavior that enables individuals to deal effectively with the demands and challenges of everyday life. So why does this matter? Well, life skills can help children and future generations form together as a society as a whole. Not only do adolescents need to be proactive in numerical and literacy learning, but in outside world scenarios and challenges as well. This relates to the stimulus material, ultra-fast fashion is eating the world, because conformity is one of the issues shown in it. As Rachel Monroe stated, according to a 2017 poll, 41% of women ages 18 to 25 felt pressured to wear a different outfit every time they went out. This shows how peer pressure is another issue that is circulating in people's day-to-day lives. But if children are taught in schools ways to deal with peer pressure and ways to not conform, learning these skills in school will eventually lead them to taking these skills into their adult life for the bettering of themselves. The stimulus material, neurosensitivity to conflicting attitudes, supports greater conformity towards positive over negative influence in early adolescence, also relates to this argument, because in this stimulus material, it showed, It showed how children are more likely to listen to their peers and do whatever the social norm is at the time, rather than listening to their parents. So parents teaching their children these skills would be much less effective than children learning it in schools and getting one another to believe the same thing. Exclusion is another issue that occurs in our world today. If we take a look in this graph, which was created by Isabella J. Reed from the University of Zurich, who is a doctor of philosophy, it shows how migrants are the majority of the students being excluded in a classroom. First generation are the second, and second generation are the least. Exclusion in a classroom can lead to other mental health and damages and issues in the world that stick with these children as they grow up in the world. This sort of relates to the stimulus material, Democracy in America, because it showed how coming from the same countries helps unite individuals. But children should be taught to learn and accept everyone for who they are on the inside rather than the outside appearance. And just because you look the same, because you're from the same ethnicity, does not mean that you should leave out other people who might be different. This can have psychological impacts on anyone's mental health. If we take a look on this graph, which was created by the CDC, people from different backgrounds tend to have higher depression rates than others. The Holdout, which was created by Norman Rockwell, shows how children should be taught in schools to act. The only woman in this image is holding her ground and not listening to all the men who are trying to get her to conform to their ideas. But she is not hollering back at them. Instead, she's politely standing there. This graph, which I created myself using data from the University of Colorado, shows how life skills life skills cost. Okay. This course would be awesome to implement into children's day-to-day lives, but conflicts will be faced along the way, and economics is one of those. Looking at this graph shows how for every 3,000 students, it costs about $25,000 just for this course. That's not including teacher salaries and the training needed to make this course happen. So one solution would be to add an extra fee, but not all parents are going to be willing to pay for this extra fee. So federally mandating a tax that is just a slight tax would be the best solution to make this course work. Although not everyone's going to be happy with it, it will make it available for money to be set aside so that this course can be implemented into children's day-to-day lives in public schools. In conclusion, life skills courses being added into American children's lives would lead to a more prosperous and peaceful society. These courses can consist of anywhere from learning ways to avoid alcohol and drugs to not conforming to other people. I hope you take this idea into consideration. Thank you.
Okay. All right, hold up. Nope. Oral defense.
Oh my gosh.
Remember that? Yeah. That's okay. All right, so you're going to get 2 questions. Take a deep breath. Remember, the other part is over. This part is 2 separate categories in the rubric. Okay? So my first question is going to be about your research process. What evidence did you gather that you ended up not including in your presentation?
Okay, so in my IWA, I sort of centered in on the psychological damage and how it can be fixed using these life skills courses. But in my presentation, I'm more focused on social and human interaction, between students and how that lasts with them and
Your second question is going to be about your argument. What are the implications of your findings on your local community?
I think in our community, I live in a community where there's a lot of privilege, and most children have great parents who can teach them these skills, and it really shows because at our school we have these students who are willing to do all of these extracurriculars and programs so that they can have a better future, but not all children are fortunate enough to have those parents, so implementing it into school systems would really benefit them emotionally, not only emotionally, but for the skills of how to get a job and basic needs.
All right, good job. Now we can clap and